Ooh, easy there. Okay. Good afternoon, radio fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, and welcome to part 2 of my reissue of the AM and FM radio stations in the Miami Fort Lauderdale market. Now, this reissue will also include stations from nearby West Palm Beach and the Florida Keys as well. The AM stations reissue is currently up, so you can go ahead and look at that one first and then circle back to this one. Alright, with that said, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. And here we go. With the FM radio stations reissue for March 2025 in the Miami Fort Lauderdale market, as well as West Palm Beach and the Florida Keys. And we are going to start off with 88.1 channel 201. There are two stations on this particular frequency. One is aimed at the West Palm Beach area, and that's WAYF West Palm Beach, known as 88.1 Way FM, featuring a Christian adult contemporary format. The station signed on or officially had its license granted by the FCC on August 26, 2003. WAYF has a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Programming originates from the headquarters of Way FM in Franklin, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville. The station's transmitter is off US 441 and Lantana Road in Wellington. WAYF is owned by Hope Media Group, and programming is relayed on translator stations W212CG 90.3 FM West Palm Beach and W244BD 96.7 FM Stuart, Florida. The other station on 88.1 is aimed at Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and that's WRGP Homestead, Florida. Known as 88.1 The Roar, with a college radio format. WRGP signed on the air on FM in 1999. They originally signed on in December of 1988 as Carrier Current Station WUFI. They have a Class C, or rather a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at just 165 watts. Main studios are located at 3000 Northeast 15th Street, room WVC 124, on the campus of Florida International University in North Miami. Their secondary studios are at 1200 Southwest 8th Street, on the FIU Modesto Medquay campus, room GC 210, and that's in Miami. Their transmitter is in Homestead, off of Southwest 248th Street and Coconut Palm Drive. WRGP is owned by Florida International University. Programming is relayed on translator stations W237CP 95.3 FM Miami and W245BF 96.9 FM North Miami. 88.3 channel 202 also has two stations on this frequency. The first station up is WGNK Pensuco, Florida. No brand for this station. They feature a Spanish contemporary Christian format. The station signed on the air as WFHQ on October 9th, 1992. The station would then switch between WIRP and WGNK from 1996 until becoming WGNK full-time in 2008, and this is the station's second run as WGNK. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 6,000 watts. Studios are located at 3401 Southwest 160th Avenue, Suite 403 in Miramar. Their transmitter is off of Krome Avenue, that's Krome, or Florida State Route 997, also in Miramar. WGNK is owned by Grupo Genesis. Their license is held by Genesis License Subsidiary LLC. WGNK's programming is simulcast in the New York market on WPAT-FM 93.1 HD2 in Paterson, New Jersey. The other station on 88.3 is aimed at the Florida Keys, and that's WYBX Key West, part of the Bible Broadcasting Network, featuring a Christian radio format, of course affiliated with BBN. The station signed on the air as WAVQ on September 27, 2002, then became WAZQ in 2006, WKZG in 2009, and then was purchased by Bible Broadcasting Network and became WYBX in 2012. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 1900 watts. Studios, or rather programming, originates from the BBN headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. The station's transmitter is on Stock Island, off 5th Street and McDonald Avenue. WYBX is owned by Bible Broadcasting Network. 88.5 Channel 203 is WKPX Sunrise. Their brand is WKPX Radio X or WNSU. This is an educational radio station signing on the air on February 14, 1983. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 3,000 watts. The studios and transmitter are located on the grounds of Piper High School at 8000 Northwest 44th Street in Sunrise, Florida. WKPX is owned full-time by Broward County Public Schools, but is operated during off hours by Nova Southeastern University. .9 Channel 205 is WDNA Miami, known as 88.9 FM WDNA Sirius Jazz, featuring a jazz format, affiliated with Public Radio International and the BBC World Service. The station signed on the air in 1977. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 7,400 watts. Studios are located at 2921 Coral Way in Miami. Their transmitter is off of Southwest 248th Street, also known as Coconut Palm Drive, in Homestead. WDNA is owned by Bascom Memorial Broadcasting Foundation. 89.3 Channel 207 is WRMB, Boynton Beach. This is the Miami Fort Lauderdale affiliate of Moody Radio, featuring a Christian radio format. Their first sign-on is actually when they had their license granted by the FCC, and that's January 18th, 2011. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Programming originates from the headquarters of the Moody Bible Institute at 820 North LaSalle Drive in Chicago. The station's transmitter is located off of Florida's Turnpike near Whitewater Lily Way in Boynton Beach. WRMB is owned and operated by the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago. Programming is relayed on 3 translator stations: W208BZ 89.5 FM, Okeechobee, Florida; W212AC 90.3 FM, Stuart, Florida; and W263AH 100.5 FM in Fort Pierce, Florida. Alright, we're going to get these next 3 stations knocked out at once. 89.7, channel 209, 89.9, channel 210, and 90.7, channel 214 all broadcast the same programming. You've got WMLV Miami on 89.7, channel 209, broadcasting in standard analog. Then there's WKWR Key West on 89.9, channel 210, also broadcasting in standard analog. And then you have WFLV West Palm Beach on 90.7, channel 214, broadcasting in high definition. All 3 stations are a part of the K-Love radio network. On the main FM analog signals on all 3 stations and on WFLV HD1 is contemporary Christian music. Then on 90.7 HD2 is Air 1, which is contemporary worship music. And all 3 stations are affiliated with K-Love. WFLV West Palm Beach signed on the air on November 24th, 1969 as WHRS FM. They would become WXEL in 1985, WPBI in 2011, and then EMF purchased the station and changed its call letters to the current WFLV back in 2015. WMLV Miami signed on in 1970 as WMCU. They became WKCP in 2007 and WMLV in 2015. And of course, this is also around the same time where WFLV in West Palm Beach was purchased by EMF. The license was granted by WKWR in Key West by the Federal Communications Commission on June 8, 2022. Alright, WMLV Miami on 89.7 channel 209 has a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Their transmitter is off of Southwest 248th Street or Coconut Palm Drive in Homestead, Florida. WFLV West Palm Beach broadcasts with a Class C1 license at an effective radiated power of 38,000 watts from their transmitter off of US 441 and Lantana Road in Lake Worth Beach, Florida. And WKWR operates as a Class A station, broadcasting at 350 watts from their transmitter on Stock Island off 5th Street and McDonald Avenue. Programming for all 3 stations originate from the K-Love headquarters in Rockland, California, which is near Sacramento. And all three stations are owned by the Educational Media Foundation, or EMF. Translator station W270AD 101.9 FM West Palm Beach relays Air 1 via WFLV HD2. 89.9 Channel 210, this is the standalone station on this frequency, and that's WCNO Palm City. They're known as the Good News Station, WCNO 89.9 FM. Featuring Christian talk and teaching, spoken word, and inspirational music. License granted by the FCC on September 25th, 1996. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at the full 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 2960 Southwest Map Road in Palm City. Their transmitter is on secluded land near I-95, also in Palm City. WCNO, the Good News Station, is owned by National Christian Network Incorporated. Okay, moving on to 90.3, Channel 212. That's WYBP Fort Lauderdale. Now, this is the BBN affiliate for Miami and Fort Lauderdale, featuring a Christian radio format. First sign-on of WYBP is unlisted. The license was granted to the station on October 20th, 2014. They did use WAFG during a construction permit and then changed to WYBP on July 27th, 2012. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 8,000 watts. Programming originates from BBN headquarters in Charlotte, North Carolina. The transmitter is off of Northwest 21st Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. WYBP is owned by the Bible Broadcasting Network. Short space next to WYBP on 90.5 Channel 213 is WVUM Coral Gables. WVUM 90.5, the voice of the University of Miami. This station plays a mix of electronic music, dance and EDM, and alternative. The station signed on the air from the University of Miami in 1967. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 5,900 watts directional. The studios are located at the University of Miami Office of Undergraduate Administration at 1306 Sanford Drive, number 210 in Coral Gables. Their mailing address is P.O. Box 248191, Coral Gables, Florida 33146. The transmitter is also on the University of Miami campus off Theo Dickinson Drive near Lake Osceola, also in Coral Gables. The station is owned by WVUM Incorporated and is licensed by the University of Miami. 90.9 Channel 215 takes us back to the Keys once again, and that's WLFE Cutler Bay. Vida Unida 99.9 FM. This is a Spanish contemporary Christian station signing on as WGES in 2004. They would add the FM suffix in 2006 and then officially became WLFE in 2010. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at the full 100,000 watts. Studios are located at the headquarters of Hope Media Group at 1722 Trouble Drive in Humble, Texas. This is north of Houston, by the way. Their transmitter is in Homestead, off Card Sound Road. WLFE is owned by Houston-based Hope Media Group. 91.3 and 91.5 are the same station. 91.3 channel 217 is WLRN FM Miami. 91.5 channel 218 is WKWM Marathon, Key West, Florida. Both stations broadcast in high definition and both are known as WLRN Radio. On the main FM analog signals and on HD1 on both stations is public radio, news and talk, and jazz music. The HD2 sub-channel on both stations plays classical music. WLRN FM signed on the air in 1949, so this makes it one of the older FM signals in Miami. WKWM in Key West signed on the air in September 2008. WLRN FM broadcasts with a Class C1 license at 47,000 watts effective radiated power. Their transmitter is located near McTile Park, which is off of Southwest 52nd Avenue and Southwest 34th Street in West Park. WKWM Marathon has a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 12,000 watts. Their transmitter is off of US 1 or the Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway in Summerlin Key. Studios for both stations are located at 172 Northeast 15th Street in Miami. Both stations are also owned by the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and both are operated by the Friends of WLRN. WLRN's programming is simulcast on WOLL 105.5 FM HD2 Hobe Sound, Florida, which is an iHeartRadio station we'll be talking about towards the end of the rundown, and is relayed on translator stations W206AS 89.1 FM Big Pine Key, W221AY 92.1 FM Tavernier, W22780 93.3 FM Key Colony Beach, W263BO 100.5 FM Key West, and W270AD 101.9 FM in West Palm Beach. The last station on the traditional non-commercial band is 91.9 channel 220 WMKL Hammocks, Florida, broadcasting in high definition. They're known as Radio Maria USA. They feature Catholic radio in both English and Spanish. English programming runs from 3 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, and Spanish programming runs from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern. WMKL signed on the air on February 9th, 2000. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Studio location is taken from radiolocator.com via the FCC database and may be outdated. It is located at 1601 Belvedere Road, number 204E in West Palm Beach. However, the transmitter is in Miami, off US 41 and Florida State Route 90. WMKL is owned by Radio Maria Incorporated, and their programming originates from KJMJ 580 AM in Alexandria, Louisiana. And before I forget, the station began life on 91.7 FM in 1999 and then moved to its present 91.9 in 2010. So that is the traditional non-commercial band on FM. Now let's jump over to the commercial band. Beginning with 92.1 Channel 221. Broadcasting in high definition, and it's WZZR West Palm Beach. Known as Real Radio 92.1. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Hot Talk weekdays, and alternative rock played late nights and on weekends. On 92.1 HD2 is a classic hip-hop format known as Jammin' 93.3. WZZR has affiliations with the United Stations radio networks. The station signed on the air as WMIB in 1975. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters until they became WZZR in 2020. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 7,200 watts. Studios are located at 3071 Continental Drive in West Palm Beach. Their transmitter is off Old Dixie Highway near Railroad Avenue in Lake Worth, or rather Lake Park. WZZR is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Checking something real quick in my notes. Okay. Programming is simulcast on WCZR 101.7 FM Vero Beach, and we'll be talking about that station later. And translator station W227CX 93.3 FM North Palm Beach relays the classic hip-hop format heard on HD2. Short space next to them on 92.3 Channel 222, broadcasting in high definition, is WCMQ FM Hialeah, also known as Zeta 92.3. This station on its main FM analog signal and on HD1 features salsa and Spanish hot adult contemporary, and is also heard on the HD2 subchannel as well. WCMQ signed on the air on December 22nd, 1969 as WHMS at 92.1. The station became WQXK in 1972 and WCMQ-FM in 1974. The station would move to its current home at 92.3 in 1987. They have a Class B license with the FCC, broadcasting at 17,000 watts. Studios are located at 7007 Northwest 77th Avenue. Its transmitter is off of Brickell Avenue or US 1 at Southeast 11th Street, both located in Miami. WCMQ-FM, or Zeta 92.3, is owned by Miami-based Spanish Broadcasting System and licensed by WCMQ Licensing LLC. Programming on WCMQ-HD2 is simulcast on WRAZ-FM 106.3 FM, Leisure City, Florida. We'll be talking about that station later. And relayed on translator station W292GE 106.3 FM, Miami. 92.7 channel 224 is WEOW Key West, known as 92.7 WEOW FM, featuring a top 40 CHR format. The station signed on the air as WFYN FM on February 20th, 1967, and became WEOW in 1986. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key, Florida. Their transmitter is at an undisclosed location in Cujo Key, Florida. WEOW is owned by Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media, LLC. 93.1 channel 226, broadcasting in high definition, is WFEZ Miami, one of the area's highest rated stations. They are known as Easy 93.1. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Soft Adult Contemporary. And I'm not sure if this station plays Christmas music during the holidays. I did not write that down. On HD2 is a dance music format known as Party 93.1 HD2. And on HD3 is NOAA Weather Radio from its Miami station KHB 34. WFEZ signed on the air on December 29, 1947 as WKAT FM. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters and became WFEZ in 2010. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Their studios are located at 2741 North 29th Avenue in Hollywood, Florida. The transmitter is located at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. Easy 93.1 WFEZ is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio, LLC. Okay. Next up is 93.5 channel 228. We have 2 stations broadcasting the same programming. WBGF Belle Glade, Florida covers West Palm Beach. WZFL Isla Morada, Florida broadcasts to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Upper Florida Keys. Both stations are known as Revolution 93.5, featuring a dance and EDM format affiliated with Compass Media Networks. WBGF signed on the air as WSWN FM on October 10th, 1978, and became WBGF in 1989. WZFL, meanwhile, signed on the air in 2013. WBGF Belle Glade has a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 15,500 watts. WZFL Isla Morada has a Class C2 license and broadcasts at 50,000 watts. Studios for both stations are located at 875 Northeast 79th Street in Miami. The WBGF transmitter is on Water Plant Road near Levee Road in South Bay, Florida, while the WZFL transmitter is located off of Overseas Parkway in Isla Morada, Florida. Meanwhile, there's also a transmitter for their translator station W228BY, which is located at the Southeast Financial Center at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard in downtown Miami. Both stations are owned by Anco Media Group. WBGF is licensed by Zoo Communications LLC, and WZFL is licensed by Marco Mazzoli. Revolution 93.5's programming is also simulcast on Odyssey-owned WSFS 104.3 HD4 in Miramar, Florida, and translator station W228BY 93.5 FM Miami relays Revolution 935's programming on WSFS HD4. Next up is 93.7 Channel 229, WKEY FM Key West. They're known as Key 93.7, featuring a yacht rock format. The station signed on the air as WKRY on November 17, 1985, and became WKEY in 1999, and originally aired on 93.5. The station would move to 93.7 in 2013. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 6,100 watts. Studios are located at 524 Front Street, Suite 4 in Key West. Their transmitter is also in Key West, off 1st Avenue and 5th Street. Key 93.7 is owned by William Ostrander and licensed by Radio 1 Key West LLC. Short space next to Key 93.7 is 93.9 Channel 230, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WMIA FM Miami Beach, known now as Magic 93.9. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Latin pop and adult contemporary music. The HD2 subchannel is currently off the air. Meanwhile, their HD3 subchannel features a country format known as 104.7 The Bull, which has affiliations with the Motor Racing Network. WMIA FM first signed on as WLRD on December 1st, 1948, and this station had quite the identity crisis, undergoing 10 call sign changes with 8 sets of call letters, and became WMIA FM in 2009. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Their studios are located at 1200 Southwest 145th Avenue, Suite 350 in Pembroke Pines, Florida. The transmitter is in Miami Gardens at the end of Northwest 210th Avenue. Magic 93.9 WMIA FM is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Translator station W284CS 104.7 FM Miami relays the country format on HD3. .3 Channel 232 has 2 stations. The first is aimed at the Florida Keys and broadcasts in standard analog, and that's WGMX Marathon. The station is presently silent. They signed on the air in 1976 as WMUM and became WGMX in 1990. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC and broadcast at 26,500 watts. Studios are located at either 5450 McDonald Avenue in Key West or 93351 Overseas Highway in Tavernier, Florida. Their transmitter is at 1 Boot Key Road in Marathon. WGMX is presently owned by Joseph P. Nascone and licensed by the Great Marathon Radio Company. And again, this station is presently silent. The second station on 94.3 is in operation and broadcasts in HD, and that's WRLX Riviera Beach, known as MIA 94.3, featuring top 40 CHR, Latin pop, reggaeton, and Spanish tropical music, both in English and Spanish. They are affiliated with Premier Networks. WRLX signed on the air as WGMW in 1971. They underwent 5 call sign changes with 5 sets of call letters and became WRLX in 2020. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Studios are located at 3071 Continental Drive in West Palm Beach, and the station's transmitter is near the intersection of 53rd Street and Hill Avenue in Riviera Beach. WRLX is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. And it would technically make it a sister station to our next station, which is 94.9 Channel 235, broadcasting in high definition, WZTU Miami Beach, known as Du 94.9. And this is pretty much the same format as WRLX on its FM analog signal and on HD1. Spanish top 40 in CHR, Latin pop, reggaeton, and tropical music, affiliated with Premier Networks. WZTU is the Spanish flagship home of the Miami Dolphins. 94.9 HD2 is either regional Mexican music as La Mezcla 94.9 or the sports simulcast of Fox Sports 940 WINZ. On HD3, it's a contemporary Christian format known as Freedom Radio FM, and this station signed on the air in 1962 as WAEZ. They would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters until they became WZTU in 2016. They have a Class C0 license with DFCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located in Pembroke Pines at 1200 Southwest 145th Avenue. Their transmitter is also at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. Du 94.9 WZTU is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. Translator station W233AP 94.5 FM, Oakland Park, Florida, relays the contemporary Christian format heard on HD3. 95.5 Channel 238, broadcasting in high definition, is WLDI Juno Beach, known as Wild 95.5. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Top 40 CHR. On HD2 is 90s and 2000s alternative rock known as 95.5 The Buzz. They are affiliated with Premier Networks also. WLDI signed on the air as WIRA-FM in 1961. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters until they became WLDI in October of 1998. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 3071 Continental Drive in West Palm Beach. Their transmitter is in an undisclosed location in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Wild 95.5 is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. 95.7 Channel 239 has 2 stations. The first is aimed at the Florida Keys, and that's WHNJ, Big Pine Key, Florida. No brand for this station. They feature a religious format. Signing on the air, or their license being granted by the FCC on November 16, 2015. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 12,500 watts. Studio location is undisclosed, possibly in Big Pine Key or even Key West. Their mailing address is P.O. Box 430177, Big Pine Key, Florida 33043. Their transmitter is located off Blimp Road in Cujo Key, Florida. And WHNJ is owned by Multicare Foundation Incorporated. The second station on 95.7 is aimed at the immediate Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, and that's WRMA North Miami Beach, known as Ritmo 95.7 Cubaton y más. This is a Cubaton format station, signing on the air in 1986 as WRFM. They would become WXDJ in 1987 and WRMA in 2014. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 17,000 watts. Studios are located at 7007 Northwest 77th Avenue in Miami. Their transmitter is located downtown on the Panorama Tower at 1100 Brickell Bay Drive. WRMA, or Ritmo 95.7, is owned by Spanish Broadcasting System and licensed by WXDJ Licensing Incorporated. Alright. 96.5 Channel 243, broadcasting in high definition, is one of Miami's popular stations, and that's WPOW Miami. They are known as Power 96. This station once held a rhythmic top 40 format for many years, and now classic hip-hop plays on its FM analog signal and on HD1. On HD2 is the sports simulcast of AM 560 Sports WQAM, and on HD3 is Channel Q, which is LGBTQ plus talk, dance, and EDM. The station signed on the air on June 15, 1985 as WCJX on 96.3. The station would become WPOW and would move to its present home at 96.5 in 1986. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Studios are located at 8300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami. Their transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. WPOW Power 96 is owned by Odyssey Incorporated and licensed by Odyssey License LLC. 96.9 Channel 245 is WKEZ FM, Tavernier, Florida. They're known as Keys Talk 96.9 and 102.5, featuring a conservative talk format. Affiliated with Premier Networks, Westwood One, and Compass Media Networks. WKEZ-FM signed on the air on November 21st, 1997 as WLFC. They would become WKEZ-FM in 1999. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 25,000 watts. Studios are located at 524 Front Street, Suite 4 in Key West. Their transmitter is near Overseas Highway off of Wellington Drive in Tavernier. WKEZ-FM is owned by Michael Stapleford and licensed by Magnum Broadcasting Incorporated, and their programming is simulcast on WPIK 102.5 FM, Summerlin Key, Florida. We'll talk about that station in full in just a little while. 97.3 Channel 247, broadcasting in high definition, is WFLC Miami, known as Hits 97.3. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Rhythmic Hot AC. On HD2 is 1980s Hits, dubbed as 97.3 The Coast. WFLC signed on the air as WIOD FM on September 1st, 1946, so this makes it one of the area's oldest FM signals. The station would undergo 4 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters, including WIOD-FM I just mentioned, which they would use twice in their history, from their 1946 sign-on to 1956, and again from 1962 to 1971. The station officially became WFLC in 1990. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Studios are located at 2741 North 29th Avenue in Hollywood. Their transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. WFLC, or Hits 97.3, is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio LLC. Moving on to 97.7 Channel 249, you've got WAVK Marathon, known as 97.7 The Zone, featuring a sports format. This is actually the Key West affiliate of the Infinity Sports Network, which is previously CBS Sports Radio. They also have affiliations with Fox Sports Radio, and they are the Key West affiliate for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Hurricanes, and Miami Marlins. So they pretty much have the broadcast rights to all of Miami's sports teams in Key West, with the exception of the Florida Panthers. They signed on the air on March 3rd, 1995 as WDUC. They would become WKTS in 1995, WWWK in 1999, and WAVK, their present call sign, in 2003. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key, and the transmitter is near Overseas Highway, US 1, off Old State Road 4A in Summerlin Key. 97.7 The Zone is owned by Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media LLC. Short space next to them on 97.9 Channel 250 is West Palm Beach's highest rated radio station, and that's WRMF Palm Beach, broadcasting in HD. They're known as 97.9 WRMF, 2000s, 10s, and today. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Hot Adult Contemporary. On HD2 is the talk radio simulcast of WFTL. On HD3 is the simulcast of WPBR, featuring Haitian Creole talk and contemporary hits. And on HD4 is a top 40 CHR station known as Party 96.3. WRMF first signed on the air on March 17, 1957 as WQXT-FM. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters, and then they would become WRMF in 1980. And again, this is the highest rated station in West Palm Beach according to Nielsen. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 701 North Point Parkway, number 500 in West Palm Beach. Their transmitter is located at the end of Homeland Road, and this is near the television tower of West Palm Beach Fox affiliate WFLX Channel 29, and this transmitter is located in Wellington. 97.9 WRMF is owned by Hubbard Broadcasting and licensed by WPB FCC License Sub LLC. Translator station W242CI 96.3 FM Jupiter relays the top 40 format on HD4. 98.3 Channel 252 broadcasting in high definition. Sorry about that. Is WRTO FM Goulds, Florida. Mix 98.3. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Spanish Tropical. HD2 is known as Rock en Español. And on HD3 is currently off the air, while HD4 is the national feed of TUDN Radio, which is Spanish Sports. WRTO FM signed on the air in February of 1976 as WGLY. And they had a bit of an identity crisis themselves, too. Undergoing 5 call sign changes with 4 sets of call letters. They would become WRTO in 1990 and added the FM suffix in 2003. They would switch call letters again in between this time before returning to WRTO FM in 2010. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 500 Southwest 177th Avenue in Miami. Transmitter is off of Southwest 248th Street or Coconut Palm Drive in Homestead. Mix 98.3 WRTO FM is owned by the Euphoria Audio Network and licensed by Univision Radio Stations Group, Incorporated. Their programming is simulcast on sister station WAMR 107.5 FM HD4 in Miami. Alright, 98.7 Channel 254 has 2 stations. The first is aimed at Key West and is WCNK Key West, broadcasting in standard analog. known as 98.7 Conch Country, Today's Country, and the Legends, featuring a country music format affiliated with AP Radio. That would be the Associated Press. WCNK signed on the air on December 12, 1984 as WOZN. They would become WBKW and then later the current WCNK, both in 1996. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key. The transmitter is near Overseas Highway off of Old State Route 4A in Summerlin Key. WCNK is owned by Michelle Well and licensed by Keys Country Media, LLC. The second station on 98.7 is aimed at West Palm Beach, and that's WKGR, Wellington, broadcasting in high definition, known as 98.7 The Gator. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Mainstream Rock. On HD2, it's the News Talk simulcast of sister station WJNO. WKGR signed on the air in 1961 as WLQY. They would become WIZD in 1980 and WKGR in 1984. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 3071 Continental Drive in West Palm Beach. The transmitter is in an undisclosed location in Hobe Sound. WKGR 98.7 Decatur is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. 99.1 Channel 256, broadcasting in high definition, is one of my favorite hip-hop stations across the country, and that's WEDR Miami. 99 Jams, Miami's #1 for hip-hop and R&B. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Urban Contemporary. On HD2 is Extreme Hip Hop. WEDR signed on the air on May 18, 1963. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 93,000 watts. Their studios are located at 2741 North 29th Avenue, Hollywood, Florida. The transmitter is off of Northwest 199th Street and Northwest 7th Avenue in Miami Gardens. WEDR, or 99 Jams, is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio, LLC. 99.5 Channel 258 has two stations. The first is WAIL Key West, branded as Whale 99.5. This features a classic rock format which signed on the air at 95.5 FM as WVFK in 1965. No word on when they moved to 99.5, unfortunately. I couldn't get that info. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key. Transmitter is in an undisclosed location in Cujo Key. Whale 99.5 is owned by Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media LLC, and their programming is also heard on WFKZ 103.1 FM Plantation Key. More on that station shortly. The second station on 99.5 broadcasts in high definition, and that's WLLY FM, Palm Beach Gardens, known as La Lay 99.5. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Regional Mexican. On HD2 is Caribbean music known as Super Jams Radio. And on HD3 is a classic hip-hop format known as Yo 1071. WLLY signed on the air as WAFC in 1979, and the station began life at 106.3 FM. The station would add the FM suffix to WAFC in 1984 and officially became WLLY in 2010. The station would move to its current home at 99.5 in 2001. They have a Class A license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting at 6,000 watts. Their studios are located at 2326 South Congress Avenue, Suite 2A, and their transmitter is near the intersection of 53rd Street and Hill Avenue, both located in West Palm Beach. WLLY-FM La Ley 99.5 is owned by Glaze Media Group. Translator station W279DG 103.7 FM West Palm Beach relays the Caribbean format on HD2. And translator station W296AW 107.1 FM Mangonia Park relays the classic hip-hop format on HD3. 99.9 channel 260 broadcasting in high definition is WKIS Boca Raton. And again, they broadcast in high definition. I don't know if I said it, but either way. This station is known as Kiss Country 99.9. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is country music. HD2 is the sports simulcast of AM 560 WQAM. On HD3 is The Bet, which is sports gambling. And on HD4 is an Israeli radio format. WKIS signed on the air on September 1st, 1965 as WWOG. They would become WKQS-FM in 1979. They would later drop the FM suffix and be known as just WKQS in 1986. And they've identified as WKIS since 1988. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,400 watts. Studios are located at 8300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami. Their transmitter is also at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens, and this is near the television tower of CBS owned and operated station WFOR TV Channel 4. Kiss Country 99.9 is owned by Odyssey Incorporated and licensed by Odyssey License LLC. 100.3 Channel 262 has two stations. The first is WCTH Plantation Key, known as Thunder Country 100.3, featuring a country music format affiliated with Westwood One. The station signed on the air in 1969 as WXOS, which is presently used on the ESPN radio affiliate in St. Louis. The station used WPLC during a construction permit from 1966 to 1967, but was never used on air. They would become WCTH in 1987. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at either 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key or 93351 Overseas Highway in Tavernier, Florida. The station's transmitter is in Isla Morada off Overseas Highway, or US 1. Thunder Country 100.3 is owned by Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media, LLC. Almost got tied up there for a second. The second station on 100.3 broadcasts to the West Palm Beach area, and that's WLML FM Lake Park. Legends 100.3, featuring an adult standards format. This station signed on the air officially on February 22nd, 2014, so they haven't been on the air all that long. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 4,000 watts. Studios are located at 760 US 1 in North Palm Beach. Their transmitter is in West Palm Beach, near the intersection of 53rd Street and Hill Avenue. WLML FM is owned by Robinson Entertainment, LLC. Next up on 100.7 channel 264, broadcasting in high definition, is WHYI-FM Fort Lauderdale, also known as Y100. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Top 40 CHR, affiliated with Premier Networks. The station signed on the air as WMFP in 1960. They would become WMJR in 1962, WLQY in 1973, and officially WHYI-FM in 1974. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Studios are located at 1200 Southwest 145th Avenue, Suite 350, Pembroke Pines, Florida. And the transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. Y100 WHYI-FM is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. 101.5 channel 268, broadcasting in high definition, is WLYF Miami. 101.5 Light FM. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is adult contemporary for much of the year and Christmas music during the holiday season. WLYF has affiliations with Compass Media Networks. The station signed on the air in April of 1948 as WWPB-FM and would become WLYF in 1970. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 8300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami, and the transmitter is in Miami Gardens, off Northwest 207th Street. 101.5 Light FM WLYF is owned by Odyssey Incorporated and licensed by Odyssey License, LLC. One spot up at 101.7 channel 269 is WKYZ Key Colony Beach. They're known as Pirate Radio, 101.7 FM and 96.7 FM for Key West. This is an adult album alternative station affiliated with Compass Media Networks. The station signed on May 11, 1989 as WKKB on 101.3 FM. The station would become WKYZ on November 2nd, 1998 and officially moved to 101.7 in 2008. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are located at 951 Caroline Street, number 202 in Key West. Their transmitter is in Summerlin Key, off Overseas Highway or US 1, technically located on Old State Road 4A. Pirate Radio, WKYZ, is owned by Keys Media Company, Incorporated. Next up on 102.1, Channel 271, is WKLG Rock Harbor. They're known as Star 102.1. Featuring an adult contemporary format, and I'm not sure if this station plays Christmas music during the holidays. Let's just put a question mark next to it. License granted by the FCC on September 8, 2005. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studio location is unlisted. They're possibly in Key Largo somewhere, just like their transmitter is, which is on US 1. WKLG is owned by WKLG Incorporated. Next is 102.3, Channel 272. WMBX Jensen Beach, X1023. Featuring an urban adult contemporary format, sorry about that, affiliated with Premier Networks. The station signed on as WHLG on December 10th, 1980 and became WMBX in 1987. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are at 701 North Point Parkway, number 500 in West Palm Beach. The transmitter is in an undisclosed location on Hobe Sound. X1023 WMBX is owned by Hubbard Broadcasting and licensed by WPB FCC License Sub LLC. 102.5 Channel 273 is WPIK Summerlin Key. Keys Talk 96.9 and 102.5, featuring a conservative talk format affiliated with Premier Networks, Westwood One, and Compass Media Networks. License granted for the station was on July 3rd, 2012. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Studios are located at 524 Front Street, Suite 4 in Key West. Transmitter is in an undisclosed locale on Cujo Key. WPIK is owned by Michael Stapleford and licensed by Magnum Broadcasting Incorporated. And this station also is heard on WKEZ-FM 96.9 Tavernier. We talked about that station earlier. 102.7 Channel 274, broadcasting in high definition, brings us back to Miami, and that's WMXJ Pompano Beach. They're known as 102.7 The Beach. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Hits. On HD2, their HD2 is currently off air. And HD3 is known as Roadblock Radio, featuring a Caribbean music format. WMXJ signed on the air as WRBD-FM on December 14th, 1969. They would become WCKO in 1971 and the present WMXJ in 1985. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 98,000 watts. Studios are located at 8300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami. The transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. WMXJ, or 102.7 The Beach, is owned by Odyssey Incorporated and licensed by Odyssey License LLC. Okay, 103.1 channel 276 has two stations. One is aimed at the Keys, and that's WFKZ Plantation Key. Their unofficial on-air brand is Sun 103.1, but this is a simulcast of WAIL 99.5 featuring a classic rock format affiliated with AP Radio. This station signed on the air in 1984. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at either 830 Crane Boulevard in Sugarloaf Key or 93351 Overseas Highway in Tavernier, Florida. Their transmitter is off of Overseas Highway or US 1 in Isla Morada, Florida. WFKZ is owned by Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media LLC, and again, this station is also heard on 99.5 WAIL in Key West. The other station on 103.1 is aimed at the Palm Beaches area, and that's WIRK Indiantown, broadcasting in high definition. They're known as New Country 103.1 on the main FM analog signal, and on HD1 is country music. On HD2 is the sports simulcast of Fox Sports 640 WMEN. WIRK signed on the air in 1966 as WLMC. They would become WOKC-FM in 1987, WPBZ in 1994, and the current WIRK in 2012. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 90,000 watts. Studios are located at 701 North Point Parkway, number 500 in West Palm Beach, and their transmitter is in Hobe Sound, Florida. WIRK is owned by Hubbard Broadcasting and licensed by WPB FCC License Sub LLC. 103.5 channel 278 broadcasting in high definition is 99 Jam's biggest opponent as far as hip-hop goes, and that's WMIB Fort Lauderdale. They're known as 103.5 The Beat. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Urban Contemporary. On HD2 is the sports simulcast of Fox Sports 940 WINZ. And on HD3 is a classic hip-hop format known as Throwback 105.5. WMIB signed on the air on October 17, 1959 as WWIL-FM. They would undergo 5 call sign changes with 5 sets of call letters until they became WMIB in 2013. They have a Class C license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are at 1200 Southwest 145th Avenue, Suite 350 in Pembroke Pines. And the transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. WMIB, or 103.5 The Beat, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses, LLC. Translator station W288DD 105.5 FM, Tamarack, Florida, relays the classic hip-hop format on HD3. 104.1 channel 281 is WWUS Big Pine Key, Florida, known as US 1, 104.1 FM, featuring a classic hits format. signing on the air on September 22nd, 1980 at 93.5. The station would move to 104.7 in 1983 before landing at 104.1 in 2002. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 830 Crane Boulevard, Sugarloaf Key, Florida, or 93351 Overseas Parkway in Tavernier. Their transmitter is near Overseas Highway on Old State Route 4A in Summerlin Key, Florida. WWUS or US1 is owned by Justin or Joseph Florini and licensed by Florini Keys Media, LLC. Short space next to them at 104.3 channel 282, broadcasting in high definition, is WSFS Miramar. 104.3 The Shark, South Florida's alternative. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is alternative rock. On HD2 is the Spanish conservative talk simulcast of Radio Libre 790 WAXY. And on HD3 you've got oldies, known as True Oldies 95.3 and 96.9. Finally on HD4 is the Dance EDM simulcast of WZFL Revolution 93.5. WSFS signed on the air on August 30th, 1969 as WEAT-FM at 104.5 in West Palm Beach. The station would become WMSF and later WAXY-FM in 2012 and WSFS in 2015. The station moved down to 104.3 on July 31st, 1986, and officially moved into the Miami-Fort Lauderdale radio market circa 2012. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Their studios are at 8300 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Miami, while the transmitter is off Southwest 27th Court in Hollywood, Florida. WSFS, also known as 104.3 The Shark. They are owned by Odyssey Incorporated and licensed by Odyssey License LLC. Translator station W237BD 95.3 FM Boca Raton and W245BC 96.9 FM Lauderdale Lakes relays the oldies format on HD3. Meanwhile, translator station W228BY 93.5 FM Miami relays the dance music format from WZFL via WSFS HD4. Moving on to 104.7 channel 284, broadcasting in high definition, and that's WFLM Palm Beach Shores. They're known as 104.7 The Flame. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Urban Contemporary. Their HD2 channel is off the air presently, and on HD3 is Oldies, known as Oldies 95.9 and 106.9. WFLM signed on the air on 104.7 originally in 1994. They would move briefly to 104.5 in 2016 before moving back to 104.7 more recently in 2023. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Their studios are located at 5 Harvard Circle, Suite 104 in West Palm Beach, while the transmitter is off of 53rd Street and Hill Avenue in Riviera Beach. 104.7 The Flame is owned by JDD Radio LLC. Translator stations W240CI 95.9 FM North Palm Beach and W295BJ 106.9 FM Jupiter both relay the oldies format heard on HD3. 104.9 Channel 285 is WXKW Key West, also known as 104.9 The X, featuring an adult hits format. So this is kind of like a Jack FM ripoff. This station signed on the air in 2010. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 1,000 watts. Studio location is unlisted. They're possibly in Key West somewhere. Their transmitter is in Key West. In fact, in downtown Key West, on the 500 block of Fleming Street. WXKW is owned by Justin Day and Kevin Redding and is licensed to Sunny Days Radio LLC. 105.1 Channel 286, broadcasting in high definition, is WHQT Coral Gables, also known as Hot 105, on the main FM analog signal, and on HD1 is Urban Adult Contemporary. On HD2 is a gospel and inspirational format. WHQT signed on the air on November 15, 1958 as WVCG-FM. They would become WYOR in 1968, WEZI in 1983, and the current WHQT in 1985. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 2741 North 29th Avenue, Hollywood, Florida. The transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens, and that's where many of the city's FM stations transmit from. WHQT Hot 105 is owned by Cox Media Group and licensed by Cox Radio LLC. 105.5 Channel 288 has 2 stations. The first is aimed at West Palm Beach, and that's WOLL, Hobe Sound, Florida, broadcasting in high definition. They're known as Cool 105.5. Cool here is spelled KOOL. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Adult Contemporary. No word on if they switch to Christmas music. I didn't write that down either. HD2 is the public radio format heard on Miami's WLRN FM. WOLL is affiliated with Premier Networks. They signed on the air in 1971 as WGMW on 94.3 in Riviera Beach. They would become WNJY in 1978, WMXQ in 1982, and the present WOLL in 1988. The station would also move to Hobe Sound on 105.5 in 1997. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Their studios are located at 3071 Continental Drive, West Palm Beach. The transmitter is near the intersection of 53rd Street and Hill Avenue in Riviera Beach. Cool 105.5 WOLL is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. The other station on 105.5 Channel 288 is WWWK Isla Morada, El Patron 105.5, featuring a regional Mexican format affiliated with Univision Radio and the Euphoria Audio Network. The station signed on the air as WPLC on March 2nd, 1984, and would become WAVK in 1986 and WWWK in 2003. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. The studio location is from Radio Locator via the FCC database, so it may be outdated. They listed it as 7480 Southwest 40th Street in Miami. Their transmitter, however, is on US 1 in Key Largo. El Patron 105.5 is owned by South Florida Radio Group. Next up is 105.7 Channel 289, WGAY, Sugarloaf Key, Florida, known as Party 105.7. This is a dance music station affiliated with Compass Media Networks. The station signed on the air pretty recently, July 1st, 2018 to be exact. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 22,000 watts. Their studios are at 524 Front Street, Suite 4 in Key West, and the transmitter is in Cujo Key, Florida, in an undisclosed location. Party 105.7 is owned by Magnum Broadcasting. Sorry about that. 105.9 Channel 290, broadcasting in high definition, is WBGG FM, Fort Lauderdale. Big 105.9, South Florida's classic rock. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is classic rock. On HD2 is the News Talk simulcast of News Radio 610 WIOD. And on HD3 is Pride Radio, which is LGBTQ plus top 40 and dance music. Big 105.9 is the FM flagship station of the Miami Dolphins. The station signed on the air as WFLM in July of 1960. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters and became WBGG-FM in 1994. The WBGG call letters are also being used on a Fox Sports radio station in Pittsburgh on 970. And they are co-owned with WBGG-FM. They have a Class C0 license with the FCC, broadcasting at the maximum 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 1200 Southwest 145th Avenue, Suite 350 in Pembroke Pines, Florida. The transmitter is at 3324 Pembroke Road in Pembroke Park. That's a lot of Pembrokes, right? WBGG-FM, Big 105.9, is owned by iHeartMedia and licensed by IHM Licenses LLC. 106.3 Channel 292 has 2 stations. The first is aimed at Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and that's WRAZ-FM, Leisure City. This is the simulcast of Zeta 92.3 featuring salsa, Spanish hot ace, and Spanish hot AC music. Signing on the air as WVBH on November 21st, 1985. They would undergo 5 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters, including 3 runs as WZMQ. From 1989 to 1999, 1999 to 2000, and 2001 to 2008, that is the year they would become WRAZ-FM. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Their studios are located at 7007 Northwest 77th Avenue in Miami. And their transmitter is on County Road 905 in Key Largo. WRAZ-FM is technically owned by South Broadcasting System Incorporated, but is operated by Spanish Broadcasting System under a local marketing agreement. And again, this station's programming is also heard at WCMQ 92.3 FM in Hialeah. Okay, we've got 7 stations left and then we'll be finished. The other station on 106.3 is aimed at the West Palm Beach area, and that's WUUB Jupiter. ESPN 106.3, featuring a sports format. This is the West Palm Beach affiliate of ESPN Radio, the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Heat. The station signed on the air in 1994 as WJBW. They would undergo 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters, and used WADY during a construction permit in 1993. But WADY officially was never used on the air. The station would become WUUB in 2012. They have a Class C3 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 19,000 watts. Their studios are at 447 South Rosemary Avenue in West Palm Beach, and the transmitter is off of Old Dixie Highway in Lake Park. ESPN 106.3 is owned by Good Karma Brands and licensed by Good Karma Broadcasting, LLC. Okay, 106.7 and 107.9 broadcast the same programming. 106.7 Channel 294, broadcasting in high definition, is aimed at the Miami area, and that's WXDJ Fort Lauderdale. 107.9 Channel 300 is aimed at the Florida Keys, and they broadcast in standard analog. That is WMFM Key West. Both stations are branded as El Nuevo Sol 106.7. On the main FM analog signals on both stations and on WXDJ HD1 is Spanish Top 40 CHR, Latin pop, reggaeton, and tropical music. WXDJ signed on the air as WFTL-FM on August 15, 1962, and they went through an identity crisis, undergoing 6 call sign changes with 6 sets of call letters, I should say. They would become WXDJ in 2014. WMFM would sign on in Key West on January 18, 1991 as WWFT. They had a little bit of an identity crisis going as well, undergoing 3 call sign changes with 3 sets of call letters until becoming WMFM in 2001. Both stations operate with Class C1 licenses from the Federal Communications Commission. WXDJ broadcasts at 98,000 watts, while WMFM broadcasts at 1,200 watts. Studios for both stations are located at 7007 Northwest 77th Avenue in Miami. The WXDJ transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens, while the WMFM transmitter is at 525 Southern Street in Key West. WXDJ is owned by Spanish Broadcasting System and licensed by WRMA Licensing LLC. Meanwhile, WMFM is owned by South Broadcasting System Incorporated and operated under a local marketing agreement by Spanish Broadcasting System. 106.9 Channel 295 is WIIS Key West, known as Island 106.9, featuring an alternative rock format, signing on the air at 107.1 in 1978, and then they would move to 106.9 in 2016. They have a Class A license with the FCC, broadcasting at 5,700 watts. Studios are located at 1075 Duval Street, number 117 in Key West. Their transmitter is also in Key West at 525 Southern Street. And WIIS is locally owned by Keyed Up Productions. Final page, final three stations, beginning with 107.1 Channel 296. WURN-FM Key Largo. Éxito 107.1 FM, featuring a Spanish AC format, signing on the air on July 17, 2014. They have a Class C2 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 50,000 watts. Studios are located at 2090 Northwest 79th Avenue, Miami, and their transmitter is off of South Dixie Highway or US 1 in Florida City. WURN-FM Éxito 107.1 is owned by Chuladad Media Group and licensed by Chuladad Key Largo FM License LLC. 107.5 Channel 298, broadcasting in high definition, is WAMR FM Miami. Amor 107.5. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Spanish adult contemporary, Latin pop, and tropical music. On HD2 is the Spanish talk simulcast of 710 WAQI. On HD3, it's Rock en Español, and on HD4, it's the Spanish tropical simulcast of Mix 98.3 WRTO FM. WAMR-FM signed on the air on June 7, 1974 as WIGL. The station would become WQBA-FM in 1979 and WAMR in 1995. They have a Class C1 license with the FCC, broadcasting at 93,000 watts. Their studios are located at 500 Southwest 177th Avenue in Miami, and the transmitter is at the end of Northwest 210th Street in Miami Gardens. WAMR-FM, or Amor 107.5, is owned by Euphoria Audio Network and licensed by Univision Radio Illinois Incorporated. 1 second. Okay. Our final station in the market by frequency is 107.9 channel 300, broadcasting in high definition, and that is WEAT, West Palm Beach. Sunny 107.9. On the main FM analog signal and on HD1 is Classic Hits, and on HD2 is the News Talk simulcast of WFTL. WEAT signed on the air on the 4th of July of 1965 as WPBF, not to be confused with the current ABC television station in West Palm Beach on Channel 25, which also uses WPBF. The station became WIRK-FM in 1971 and WEAT in 2012. They have a Class C1 license with the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting at 100,000 watts. Studios are located at 701 North Point Parkway number 500 in West Palm Beach. And the transmitter is off of Florida State Route 7 near 60th Street North, also in West Palm Beach. WEAT Sunny 107.9 is owned by Hubbard Broadcasting and licensed by WPB FCC License Sub LLC. And that is the March 2025 reissue of the FM radio stations across South Florida, from Miami, Fort Lauderdale to West Palm Beach and all the way to the Keys. Alright, this market is a wrap. We're going to stay in Florida for our next reissue. We'll be taking a look at the Tampa Bay radio market next, reissuing every station in that market, as well as stations from Lakeland and from Sarasota. So make sure you join me for that, as those videos will drop very soon. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching, and happy listening. Peace out.